I don't know if this one really will follow the. I don't know if it'll be a part of like the thing I'm doing now. I might release it as kind of just a standalone topic. Um, but I just watched the movie Anora, um, and I thought it was a really fun movie. One, it's very interesting, entertaining to watch. But it's also I really feel like the stories that are told there are really nice. I think that the it's kind of a hard movie to be like, oh yeah, this is a great movie, but it's an interesting watch because I just feel like there's something very human about the characters that are in the movie. Um, I feel that all of the characters kind of had their own mindset in life, and it was very visible in the way that the characters took their actions. Um, you know, like the mother, the Russian mother, I think is kind of an example of this. Is like she's out for her family. Her family is the only thing that matters to her, and she looks at Annie Anora as this character that she just totally despises. She calls her a whore, and she's just brutal to her, right? Because that's kind of what aligns with her viewpoint, um, and she hasn't, she doesn't look at Annie with any kind of empathy, um, and it's just kind of sad to see that is how some people are living, because I kind of felt like I wasn't really tapped into emotions very well up until I would say more. I have an emotional resonance in me that I just denied to connect to things, and so I was maybe more aligned to like the Russian mother. I guess is kind of what I'm thinking. But what I realize now is that really you can connect to anybody and everybody, and you know, there's nothing that really would stop you from having a good time with any single human on Earth, really. Like if you just kind of let everything go and embrace the love of humanity. And not everybody's doing great things all the time, but I think all of our struggles are, you know, our test, and it's a beautiful thing to have to go through it. And that even the down times are worth going through so that you can have, those moments that really kind of make everything line up and make sense again. I think it's worth pushing on just to reach those moments, because that's where I feel like I'm at right now, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But anyway, so watching this film, um, you can see all these characters, um, kind of just living their experience, and I try and envision myself as like my the concept of like anything that you dream of is possible. And Nora dreamed of a life where she became basically super wealthy through marriage of this Russian oligarch son. Like that's the dream she had for herself in the this moment of the movie. And there's a moment when she's trying to talk to Ivan, right after they find him, and she's every single time, every moment, like after they find him, she's trying to convince him that he really loves her, and the fact is that he doesn't, right? Ivan's mindset is he's just a spoiled kid, and the world is his plaything, and he's just playing, and that's really how that's how his mind works, and so he doesn't view Annie for the beautiful person that she really is, and I think Annie is a very flawed character, right? She is a human, and she works in a taboo industry, like the sex work industry, and there's a lot of shame our society kind of casts on many of these different aspects of our humanity and our lived experience, and I really think that we don't need to be so critical. um, I guess is the point, in that you know I want everybody to just enjoy their life, and I know that there is somebody out there who's working in sex work, and they actually really like it. They find it fulfilling, and they're able to have a good life by doing that, and that's their best life. And that's a weird thought, that is an acceptable way to live, and even possibly for a unique person, the best way to live their life. And but But there's a lot more people like Annie who are doing something, but they're doing it begrudgingly because it works, but it's not, you know what I mean? She wanted to be, I guess, her perfect reality. What she was trying to move towards was being, a super rich housewife because it's so comfortable, and it's a fantasy that we want to move towards, this higher level of existence. Um, and so that's what she tried to do. And she tried to convince Yvonne that he loved her. And, he just didn't. And it wasn't in his capacity to do it. I wish it could be. I wish for all people that, we could all have this kind of breakthrough about, how connected we really are. And, passion for your fellow man is like the most important thing that you can carry with you. But, anyway, then there's the other relationship that they have that's kind of between Igor and Anora. And Igor is also just a guy who, again, I just think the characters of this movie are really compelling to me. I feel like they are a true, like, somebody really is like that. Igor is essentially just a Russian muscle, right? He's just a guy who's living a relatively low life. He's basically a henchman, but he's got a heart of gold, honestly, and that's kind of, it's like he has an unusual personality for the relation, the way that his life is going. If you met him and talked to him, Igor is a nice guy. He's a funny guy. And Annie started to see that side of him, but the nature of what he is he had to, he had to be a henchman. And you can see him do this throughout the film and restraining her and tying her up, but doing it in the way that, again, he is that at his core, he's a good person. He's a grandma's boy. I just watched Grandma's Boy as well, and that film is hilarious. But so I'm thinking about what maybe film reviews is something I can do, and that'll kind of be, I guess, the nature of this one. This is a specific look at Anora right now, I guess, and maybe I will just release it as that. Why not? It's the order in which we played through these events. But the point is that they have this moment, many moments in the film where, you can see Igor is always just trying to align himself to his own objectives with his own philosophy. And, sometimes he has to do things he doesn't necessarily like to do. And sometimes he's able to take a step and show his true self, in things like stealing the ring and giving it back to Anora. That's kind of the really big thing that he does for her. But he does a lot of subtle things. He insists that, the family, Yvonne, apologize to Anora because putting her through this is terrible. He kind of dangled this thing that, is a dream for so many people, and he dangled it, and they got married, right? And Anora thought her life was going to, be magical, right? And, but he was just playing with her. And Igor wanted to try and have him provide closure to that. Because, again, if we could all just tap into this universal energy, I really think that we would just be so forgiving of each other. And I really think that that's like the beautiful thought that I'm kind of overwhelmed with lately. But anyway, so after he gives her the ring, they have this super, it's just fascinating to watch because you have to believe that somebody's probably lived an experience like that. And Honora is just kind of stunned that no matter how much she's thrown at this guy, that he's fundamentally not changed, and that she has a lot of conceptions about him that are wrong. He's a Russian henchman mob guy, but he's actually looked out for her, and the things that he says are true, that he really was never trying to hurt her, and that he just kind of has empathy for her. And I think she really truly finally was able to just let that go, her belief about him, when he gave her that ring, and she lets it go. And And again, she struggles internally, and they really do a good job at showing this is that Anora is a stripper, but when she meets this Russian oligarch, and maybe she's done this in the past, she's also a prostitute, but she doesn't believe it. She doesn't, it's a lie she tells herself that, you know, that the fact that certain patrons, she'll have sex with them for money, she doesn't consider herself to be a whore, And it's like, because it's so hard to be that. I've talked about that concept of I'm a 30-year-old virgin, and it's just hard to be it. There are things in life that are harder than others. And just when you are something, when you feel the sense of inadequacy, and it overwhelms your personality, it just overwhelms your mind. But it's a choice. It's self-inflicted. Like, you don't have to really beat yourself up in the way that we do. And I want to. That's kind of why I want to tell you guys this. I think that's insightful stuff. Because it really has felt really good to let it go in my small way that I'm doing here. So anyway, Anora, I suppose, wants to reward Igor for just being the nice guy that he is. And he's given her something of considerable value, this ring. And so she does the only thing she knows how to do, and she decides that I'm going to have sex with you. And kind of just, she shows herself, I think, in a way, and the acting is phenomenal in all of this, because you really believe that this could be happening. So she begins to kind of have sex with him, and but she shows herself in a way that's kind of not performative. She has an intimate experience with Igor, and in a lot of the ways that Yvonne would engage in sex with her, it really was just about his satisfaction. And what Igor is trying to do in this moment is he likes Anora. Who wouldn't, right? She's beautiful. And she's showing a side of herself that's, it'd be hard to not be overcome by that. And he's just trying to look her in the face. Because why wouldn't you? And she's really resistant to it. There's a point the moment where he kind of grabs her face and is, just trying to enjoy that experience together. And she's really, really resisting him about that. It's not rape or anything, but she wanted to offer this, but she wasn't really wanting to give herself emotionally to somebody. She didn't want to, she just wanted to, I think, pay him back a little bit. And he wanted more, I guess. He was open to having more. And just the idea of that, I think, overwhelmed her. And that's when she just starts crying that, this guy loves me. Or, he has the capacity to love me as I am. It's not Yvonne. He doesn't have anything. He's just experiencing this. We're doing this on our own dime, on our own time. And I just thought that moment of connection it's beautiful. And then the movie ends. But anyway, this is not what I expected to be talking about now. But I just decided, I don't know, I just happened to watch the movie. And those are my thoughts.